You ready?
No, I'm not used to it. I've only done it a couple times.
Technical difficulties to start.
Uh-huh.
Episode 7.
Apologies, everyone.
First episode of the new year. First episode that I get to host where I don't have, where I get to do everything on my own.
How does that feel, Pete?
Pretty fun. It's fun being a new board member.
Good.
Jake, what you think of the Super Bowl?
Well,
Or the 3 quarters that you got to watch?
Yeah, well,
We'll just preface it that way.
Yeah, we'll preface it that way. It's the blue one.
It's the blue one right there.
All right, because I'm gonna need to remember that.
We're gonna need that.
Yeah, but I don't know. I was talking about this with someone the other day. I thought it was a little anticlimactic. I mean, I've said before, Pete's known that I don't care for either team, so it's not like I wanted one or the other to win, but it's like at least put up a challenge. Like that was, oh my God. And then it was like, I think the final score was like 40-22 Eagles, something like that. Like, oh my goodness. And I remember right before I was indisposed, which again, we won't discuss. There was an interception. It was like, I think it might've been by that guy who got the touchdown earlier,
DeJean.
Yeah. I don't know how to pronounce his last name, but it wasn't even like, that he had to work for it. The guy on the Chiefs, he practically passed it to him. Like, I mean, like, I'm not a professional football player myself, but if I was, I would not do that.
Yeah, I think the game itself was really not what anyone expected.
Mm-hmm.
It's I think everyone expected it to be a shootout, not a blowout.
That's it. I like that terminology.
Yeah, everyone thought it was going to be a shootout, high-scoring game. Because the first time they played each other, it was a shootout. The final score was like 34, I think 31, 34-31.
Oh, right, 2 years ago?
2 years ago. Yeah. No one expected it to be a blowout. So it's like...
Yeah, I mean, come on. Right before the game started, Tom Cruise came out saying how high the stakes were. You're gonna disappoint Ethan Hunt? Like,
there's the movie reference of the day. That warrants a button.
But
that warrants the
button. Yeah, just basically, like I said, anticlimactic. I mean, I guess unless you're a diehard Eagles fan. I mean, either way, Philly's going to be in ruins today. But yeah, and I think name Hurts. He got like MVP, right, or not?
Yeah.
So, yeah. Good day for them.
Now they'll go local football. It's home. The Jets officially announced they're releasing Aaron Rodgers. I want to cry. My childhood icon, Packer legend. Yeah, Woody Johnson had to ruin it somehow.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
worst owner in professional sports.
Yeah, I have an uncle. He was actually watching the Super Bowl with us. He's a huge Jets fan as well, so he wasn't too happy about it. I heard about it from him first the other day, and then I saw it all on social media and from you. So.
There's no point to do this when there's no viable replacement. There's no actual replacement for him. You're going to be in the same position you were every year. What's the point of releasing him and taking on all that dead money?
Right. Yeah, I agree too, because he was an all-star, so it's like
it's a Hall of Famer.
Yeah. So, yeah. I mean, again, unlike Pete, I'm not a Jets fan, but just objectively, the decision doesn't really make that much sense.
It doesn't make sense from a football standpoint because there's no real viable options to replace him.
Yeah, I mean,
so it's like you have Tyrod Taylor is your backup. He's not that good. The free agents aren't that good this year.
What are you doing, Gangrene?
Gangrene. Woody Johnson's got a.
Sorry, go ahead.
No, that there's got to be a depressing one that we have to play.
Yeah, I don't know all the buttons.
I don't know all the buttons yet either.
Okay.
Okay. The worst one I could find was cricket.
Yeah, that's just like something you hear at night.
I'm trying to find an actual.
Bear
That's a
with us,
sound.
please.
No. All right, I'll look. I'll find one.
We'll
Don't
find
worry.
it
I'll
later.
find one. And then let's move on from football because now it's getting depressing. A sport Jake might actually know about: baseball. Yeah.
Yeah, he's not a.
Yeah.
He's not rocking with that.
No. Spring training started. Pitchers and catchers reported. Are you ready for baseball season, Jake?
I am. It's hard to believe that we're only like a smidgen over a month and away, like a month and a half away.
Yeah.
You know, it's like, because that's always something I've noticed with like all the sports seasons. You know, it's kind of the debate over which is longer, baseball or hockey. Like I know baseball has more games, but hockey, a lot of people get in duration, it's probably slightly longer. But with baseball, yeah, I'm ready. Yankees are, as you can see, my favorite sports team. Granted, I also don't have a lot of sweatshirts, so that's part of the reason I wear this a lot. But I'm excited, you know, and I'm sure you are with the big new addition on your team.
Juan Soto's in New York, Matt.
Yeah. You know, it's because I try to be fair here. I know a lot of people on the Yankee camp, many whom I'm close with, were upset by that. And obviously, I'm not thrilled personally, but like I'm a big believer in you don't know what happens till it happens. You still got Judge, which I'm very happy about. And I was almost going to kind of bring him up as a point of reference for when you were talking about Aaron Rodgers. Sorry to remind you of that, but two Aarons kind of bridging it. Like, you know, I was going to say like, oh, how Jets getting rid of Rodgers would almost be like the Yankees getting rid of Judge. And so I am happy about that. I mean, granted, when he gets to the playoffs, not such
He plays more like Artemi Panarin in game in the third round against the Panthers.
If that helps you. So yeah, but for the regular season, for the 162 games, I'm pretty happy.
Yeah, he's the best regular season player in baseball.
Yeah, so that's pretty good.
But so pitchers and catchers reported, as I said before, and I believe next week or in the next couple of weeks, hitters report. Get to see Juan Soto in blue and orange. I'm very happy about that.
Yeah, I remember the night that was announced, Pete actually he called.
I called you.
A variety of Yankee fans, including me. Now I didn't pick up, not because I was PO'd. I was actually watching a movie with my family.
I called every Yankee fan I knew just to piss them off even more. Gonna be flat out honest. I called every Yankee fan I knew. I called or texted everyone.
Yeah. So and it's funny, like an hour before he called me, I was actually on a FaceTime call with two Yankee fans. They took it a lot worse than I did.
Shout out Tom.
That's one of them, yes.
Shout out Tom.
The Dominator.
Dominator. When are you gonna get on one of these episodes?
Yeah, come on, Dom. We need you. Pete needs you.
I need you here. I've been waiting a semester and a half for you to show up.
I need a Dom that won't drive me crazy. All right, anyway.
Just for that corny ass joke.
Okay, so yeah. Is there anything you're looking, I mean, aside from Soto, is there anything about the season you're looking forward to in particular?
Just to see how well the Mets follow up the season they had going to the NLCS. I think they got significantly better just by adding Soto, adding a couple of new arms to the bullpen. I think we've significantly gotten better.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I do remember because like I was excited. Like I remember we were on the verge of having a Subway Series, and that would have made things.
That would have strained a few friendships. That's all I'm gonna say.
It probably would have, but it also
yours not being one of them because you're not.
No, I can handle it.
But I can handle it.
But it
would have strained a few friendships.
It definitely would have made things interesting. It would have been more interesting than Super Bowl. I'll say that. But and so
100%.
So that would have been interesting. But my point being in that is that they the Mets, again, as a non-Mets fan, they did good, and so I think as a
Thank you,
Mets,
Jake.
yeah, and as a Mets fan, like Pete, it would be interesting to see where they go, especially with Soto. Again, as I've said before, doesn't necessarily translate to what will happen, but the potentiality is there.
The potential is always there, just because they play in different conferences, or different leagues, as you have to call them properly. But it would be fun to have an all New York World Series. I think the Bronx would burn to the ground.
You think it would be like Philly?
I think if it's all New York, it could be worse.
Yeah.
You should have two fan bases battling each other instead of just the Eagles. There's no rival team to Philly.
That's true, and it's all contained within one
Yeah.
city. Granted, the biggest city in the world, but
Yeah, and then the big topic that I love, international hockey is back.
yeah. So Pete, you'll have to school me a little more on that one.
I'll take
because I know Rangers decently well, but international hockey, like I'm lost.
Well, last night the Four Nations face-off kicked off, and I'm just gonna pull up the score from Canada-Sweden game, I believe it was.
Yeah, just for reference, audience, when it comes to international hockey, I'm like a blind guy in a minefield. But I'll do what I can.
So last night you had Canada and Sweden. The game was awesome. It was entertaining. You had an overtime game, in a game where everybody thought right away Canada was just going to blow everybody out because they have the best team in the tournament, which probably is true. They probably have the most star power.
Hockey there is like our football, right?
I mean, you have Connor McDavid, Sidney Crosby, Nathan McKinnon on a power play unit with Cale Makar. I think that takes any other team and just puts them in a gutter. That's the four best players in hockey on one power play unit.
Not bad.
Yeah, so Canada won last night 4-3. They're 1-0 in the tournament. So how it's working is there's 3 round robin games, and then the 2 best teams with the best records play each other Thursday night, February 20th at 8:00 on ESPN is the championship. Tonight you have USA and Finland, 8 p.m. on ESPN. Let's go USA.
US.
I think USA is the second best team in the tournament. You have Austin Matthews, who's the best pure goal scorer in hockey, with Jack Hughes. What? I'm trying to think. Jack Hughes. Then you got Jack Eichel, Adam Fox. USA's easily second best star power team in the tournament. And they might have the best goaltender in the tournament, Connor Hellebuck. My prediction, if I had to give a prediction, is the final is going to be USA-Canada.
It's almost like a Subway Series, but in hockey.
Yeah. Well, I think that because I think they're the 2 best teams, barring a major upset from Sweden or Finland. I think the final is going to be USA, Canada. And now in other news with international play, they announced that players are allowed to go to the Olympics. NHL players are allowed to play the Olympic hockey. I would have that in 10 years.
10 years?
I think 2014 was the last Olympic that NHL players.
Yeah, because the next Olympic is 2028, right? So
yeah.
So it's a little bit.
I think 2026, and then 2028 they're going to bring back the NHL's World Cup of Hockey, which is sort of like the Four Nations face-off, but instead of 4 teams, it's 8 to 10 teams. So we got to see. The NHL is doing a lot of exciting things to expand the sport.
Sure.
Well, international has always been popular, but they're bringing back a lot of old school tournaments that a lot of fans like the Four Nations face-off, which is a new concept. But then you have the World Cup of Hockey, which a lot of people liked, me included. And then you're finally allowing your players to go back to the Olympics, which is a lot of fun.
Yeah, for sure. Anything we can do to, obviously combine our sports with the Olympics, make both more fun. I'm down.
I think, Olympic hockey is a lot more fun when you have pro athletes. And then I want to backtrack a little bit back to the Aaron Rodgers story.
Okay.
Because you
Is
have
there
a couple there's more.
Okay.
There's a couple more things that came out that make this even worse. By releasing Aaron Rodgers, the Jets now face $49 million in dead cap. So what's the point of eating that, when you're probably going to a rebuild?
Mhm.
Why do you want to eat 50 mil or 49 mil in dead cap?
Mhm. Yeah,
I mean, if they designate it post June 1st, it goes down to 23 million, which is, and then a dead cap of 35 million in 2026. The move just doesn't make sense. And then now Woody Johnson released a statement, which I'm not going to read because
it's not good.
it's mind numbing to read. But Woody Johnson also released a statement.
Yeah, again, because I compare everything to Yankees, it's like George Steinbrenner trading Jay Buhner in the 90s. Why?
Mhm.
But yeah,
It's crazy. It's ridiculous. They don't know. They don't know how to function as a functional football team, and then they wonder why they haven't made the playoffs in 15 years. 15, because they're not making the playoffs this year. I can tell you already, they're not making it this year, so it's going to be 15. It's going to be a 15-year drought. Might as well be 20. Who knows?
yeah, we will.
They're that bad. Might as well go close to 20.
Yeah.
They're the most dysfunctional team I've ever witnessed.
Yeah, I'm sorry about that, but
At least the Mets, it's dysfunctional as the Mets used to be. At least they finally have an owner that's willing to spend and make the team better.
well, like I said earlier, they had a glimmer of hope after last season.
Yeah,
but-
they did, and they have an owner that's willing to capitalize on it instead of bargain bin shopping, like the Wilpons did for 20 years.
Yeah, and I'm glad though, that New York baseball, at least in the last year, was making a bit of a comeback. Like, granted, yes, Game 5, we Yankee fans don't talk about that, but
Best game of the series.
but we at least got to the series. So, point being, like New York sports, or at least baseball.
Yeah, but I'm going to
becoming
argue with you a
better.
little bit. When you got to the series, you got utterly embarrassed.
We did.
You got more embarrassed than the Mets did.
We did, but my point is that New York baseball on the whole is at least
No, yeah, I know.
we're
I was
improving.
messing with you.
Yeah. No, that was not fun. You know what's funny? Actually, kind of to bring it to a story, I was watching part of the game at this guy's dorm, and
was it game? Hold on, was it game? It was game 5 when they went up 5-0.
So they were up 5-0 when I left, and just for reference, it's about roughly a 10-minute walk from his dorm to get to my car in the parking garage. I checked the score when I got to my car. It was 5 apiece. I'm like, what the flip? Yeah, I censored myself, and so
I was about to start getting ready to the button.
And so,
I
was trying to do the joke.
Oh,
okay. Anyway, he did it. Anyway, I got to my car. I'm like, oh my goodness, what did they do? So, turned it on the radio, and I usually listen to music in my car, but obviously because it's an important game, I turned on the Yankee game, and then it was just getting worse from there. And when I got home, there was like a ton of road work on my way home, and I'm like, okay, you know what? Between this, I gotta put on music again. So I popped in a Guns N' Roses CD. I'm like, this will take
Guns
my
N'
mind.
Roses secured to a lot of stress.
Yeah, that took my mind off of it.
Yeah, it all started when Aaron Judge dropped the fly ball in shallow field.
Yeah, and
shallow center.
The issue was too that,
and then Anthony Rizzo and Garrett Cole don't decide to cover first.
Yeah, and well, the another issue too is that it wasn't just Game 5, although that was the pinnacle of the crappiness. But I remember in the first game, someone, maybe it was Volpe, I don't remember. Someone made a huge error in the first game, and that just kind of, we obviously won a little after that, but that kind of, in my opinion, put you on a bad footing. Because like when you have a series, the first game makes a big, that's the first impression. So that's just.
And then Freddie Freeman, grand slam and extra innings.
Yeah. Yeah, I remember this guy saying, let's go Dodgers quite a bit during that time.
Yeah, and I don't like the Dodgers to preference, but any chance I had to root against the New York Yankees as a Met fan,
Well, that's kind of like the whole Eagles and Chiefs thing. Like
Unprofessional, but any chance I had,
that's
it presented itself.
that's kind of like what it was with Super Bowl 59 here. Like when people like when it came to Eagles and Chiefs, the majority of the country, from what I've seen, except for diehard Giants fans, rallied in the corner of the Eagles.
Everyone I know, sorry to cut you off. Everyone I know, but shout out Billy and Dom. Everyone I know, but them two, were rooting for the Eagles
Right.
in the Super Bowl.
Right, and it was kind of like I saw an Instagram reel about this. It was like that scene from The Boys where Homelander's like confused and he starts smiling. And the caption was the Eagles when they realize people are just rooting for them because they hate the Chiefs more.
Yeah, I mean, I don't even think it's the fact that people hate the Chiefs. I think it's the same thing with New England, where after a while you just get fatigued of them always winning.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, naturally there was people like I hated New England when they were in the dynasty because they're in the same division as the Jets. They're Jets rivals. You never want to see a rival do that good. But there's also sports fatigue of the same team winning every year. So I think a lot of people were rooting against Kansas City because the Eagles had a chance to win, and it wasn't like the Eagles lost when the last time they played.
Yeah, Chiefs fatigue, as you were mentioning too.
Yeah, I think it's a lot of sports fatigue about Kansas City winning. I feel like it's going to be that way. They make the Super Bowl again, the 4th year in a row that they make it. I feel like everyone's going to be against them because everyone's going to be fatigued of them even making it.
I know it's impossible to tell now because it's like a good 6-7 months away. But do you think they'll make it again in
I mean, I
2026?
don't know. It depends. I mean, there's a lot of time from now to August. You have the offseason, you have free agency, you have the draft. Travis Kelce might call it a career. There's strong indications and rumors that Kelce might retire between now and the start of next season.
So he's going to do the anti-Brady.
The anti-Brady and just call it a career. 35. Kelce is 35. That's older to play tight end.
Yeah, for sure.
There's a lot of rumors that he's going to retire, and then you got to see how Mahomes would fare without Kelce as a weapon.
Right, because unlike Kelce, he's a little younger. He's like what,
29,
28? Yes, so he's still got a little bit left in him.
Yeah.
And it was a shame too, because like again, I had no horse in the race, but because like I mean, what a game for him, because like it was, and he seemed like a nice guy. I almost felt a little bad for him, but again, then I remembered that I just don't like either team. But
he can't. Not the Chiefs. The Eagles held Mahomes and Kansas City behind the 50-yard line. They didn't cross midfield the entire first half.
Mm-hmm.
They had Mahomes at 30 yards and 2 interceptions at halftime. And they had 2 picks, and they held him to 32 passing yards at halftime. The only reason that the score looked somewhat bigger than it was at 40-22, still a blowout. Only reason they looked anywhere near where they were is because the Eagles defense started playing a back more and letting things open up. That's the only reason they scored 22 points in the second half. The Eagles were they had Mahomes in a blender, to put it lightly. They sacked him 7 or 8 times.
Mm-hmm.
They shut down Kelce. They shut down the running game. They took away any other weapon that they had. They let Mahomes have to beat them on himself, and he couldn't do it. It's the same thing what the Eagles did, what Kansas City did on defense. They took away Saquon Barkley to try to let Jalen Hurts beat them, and Jalen Hurts took advantage of it because they didn't key in on Devontae Smith or A.J. Brown. They let those guys beat them, which shows you how well-rounded Philadelphia offensively still is.
Yeah, sure.
Any thoughts? Any thoughts on that little rant and that little examination?
I'm just like, I'm letting him cook. But
let him cook.
No, I pretty much agree with everything that Pete said. Again, I just seeing the game, Philly did basically everything right.
Yeah.
Kansas did virtually.
Yeah, I agree 100%. Kansas City, Mahomes got shut down in a way. He was the only other time Mahomes was shut down this way was when they lost to the Buccaneers in the COVID Super Bowl, which was I think February of 21.
Yes.
They it was the exact same formula. They blitzed. They only rushed 4 and keyed in on the weapons and took the weapons away from Mahomes, and they couldn't put up points.
Yeah, sure. It's all about.
Yeah, the way I feel like Philadelphia might have showed a way to beat Kansas City, which is take away the weapons and you have to pressure Mahomes.
Well, and then that's the thing. When you get that choke point, that'll potentially become useful down the line. I mean, not just for Philly, but again, if the Chiefs are in the Super Bowl in the next couple of years, which is very much a possibility, other teams can
I
figure that
think
out,
they're
take
gonna
advantage of
win.
it.
I think with Mahomes, even if Kelsey leaves, if they replace Kelsey and they get I mean, they still have Pacheco, who hopefully if Isaiah Pacheco comes back next year healthier, he has potential to be 1,000-yard running back. If they get better wide receivers than what they had, granted, I know they had D-Hop. DeAndre Hopkins is older. It wasn't prime DeAndre Hopkins 10 years ago. But they could get better wide receivers and even a serviceable tight end if Kelsey is to retire. I definitely think they could definitely be back in the Super Bowl in the next 2-3 seasons, even next year. As long as they have Mahomes has that swagger on him that I don't like comparing him to Brady, but Mahomes has like that kind of
Mhm.
same swagger and aura that Brady had, where if you just give him things that work, he could win you the games on his own.
Right. It's he's obviously unlike the counterpart just mentioned, he's not gonna have, 90,000 yards in a career, but he'll
It's possible.
it could, but
The way the
but
NFL is now, it's possible he could get
but
90,000 yards.
but it's I see what you mean, though. It's a similar sense where it's like
Yeah.
if, they give him what he needs, he'll deliver. But he obviously again, that's not what happened this past weekend.
But you also have to look at Brady. Brady never truly had a superstar wide receiver. Yeah, he had Gronkowski, but that's a tight end. That's not a superstar wide receiver.
Right.
He won Super Bowls with Julian Edelman, Danny Amendola, and Chris Hogan as his top 3 wide receivers.
Mhm.
He had Randy Moss, and the 1 year he had a superstar wide receiver, they lost in the Super Bowl to the Giants.
Mhm.
I don't know if that's coincidence or if that's just, if that's a coincidence that the 1 year he had a superstar wide receiver, they lost in the Super Bowl. But then when he had 3 slot receivers that just show up when you need them to.
Yeah, for sure. It's certainly can't rule it out. But yeah, I mean, again, even though I'm not in the Chiefs camp, I think like I said, I think Mahomes is a good guy, and I think he's he's obviously a very good player. So we'll have to see how it goes.
I think you got to say he's the best quarterback in the NFL.
Currently, yes, yeah. Absolutely.
Put statistics aside because everyone's going to look at the statistics of what other players put up compared to him the last couple of years. Yeah, he didn't put up game-breaking statistics, but they won 15 games this year. And I mean, a lot of them were one-score games, but if you give him the ball with 2 minutes left, he's going to make something happen. Not many quarterbacks are doing that in the NFL. Like now, there's not many quarterbacks, if you give the ball with 2 minutes or even a minute, that are going to make something happen.
Yeah, for sure. You definitely in any sport, but of course, with football, where there's a clock, you need someone who comes in clutch.
Yeah.
So for sure. And as we mentioned, yeah, great quarterback. So I think again, in the right environment, he'll do good. He'll deliver.
Yeah, it's all about what they put around him. Because Andy Reid's still the best coach in the NFL, I think.
Yeah, even after being yelled at last year.
Even after being yelled at in the Super Bowl. But as a coach, Andy Reid learns how to adapt to what he has, and that's why they're getting so far.
Oh yeah, you have to. Sports is so fluid. You have to be able to roll with the changes.
Like, look at Belichick. All those years that the Patriots once because Belichick knew how to adapt to his opponent and adapt to what worked.
Oh yeah. I mean, you don't get 8 rings by luck. It was 8, right? Yeah.
Well, yeah, 6 as a head coach, and then he won 2 as the Giants' defensive
So,
coordinator.
so yeah, that's
Yeah, so 8.
says a lot about him. For
I had
sure.
to actually count that out and remember if it was 8.
I wasn't sure myself. I'm like Pete will know for sure. So
No, I know for sure he won. Some people don't remember. I don't want to say a lot. I feel like some people that are newer into the NFL might not know that Belichick was the Giants' defensive coordinator in the
Mhm.
80s when they won the Super Bowls. I feel like you have to like really know the history of football for that because
Mhm.
not many new fans might know that right away without reading about it.
Right, for sure. Yeah, and that's what it is sports in general. Like, hey, I mean, like 10 minutes ago, I made a reference to Jay Buhner. Half the audience probably doesn't know who that is.
I'm not gonna lie, no idea.
Yeah, see, it's like,
He got me with that one. I'm not gonna lie to you. He got me with that one.
yeah, that was a Yankee fact, so I'll be more likely to know that one.
Yeah, he got me with that one. I didn't
Yeah.
know.
People were saying Ken Phelps back, but I'm like, no, it's Jay Buhner. But
Jay
anyway,
Buhner.
okay, that's a side story.
Yeah, but that one he actually got me with that one too, which makes it even funnier. Makes it really
Man,
funny.
I'm a sportsaholic now.
Well, you are on the Sportsaholic podcast.
There you go. There you go.
Hopefully, you're a recurring guest.
I think I will be. You know, y'all will see me every now and then.
Well, because now that you have class on Friday, you could come more often. You can come on the show more often.
Right, because I got a 1:00 class.
Or if we have to run it now at the same time, 11 o'clock on a Thursday.
Yeah, and I don't know if this is too tangential, but we can't do it tomorrow. I don't know if you want to talk about that.
Oh,
Pete.
no, yeah, we could bring it up really quick. I know it's not really anything about sports,
It's not,
but we could just bring
It's
up,
fun to talk about.
just fun to talk about for a couple minutes, just to break up the show a little bit.
Yeah.
Go and see the new Captain America tomorrow.
Yes. Woohoo.
Hopefully, it's better than what people are saying about it.
Yeah, that's
But
50% on Rotten Tomatoes. That's not great.
but then again, I also like to inform my own opinion about movies.
For
I
sure.
think I've only let critics inspire me about a couple of movies, and I think you're gonna laugh at the 2 movies I'm about to name.
Okay.
The Rhino and not the Rhino, Kraven the Hunter
Okay.
and Morbius and Madam Web are the only 3 movies where I've saw so many people talk bad about the movie that I've never even attempted to check it out for myself. Like I've seen not a single positive thing about the movie that made me want to actually check it out and try to form my own opinion about it. So, like, see, with Captain America from earlier screenings, I've seen a couple of people say good things, obviously people say bad things. So I'm like, it's worth watching to form your own opinion about.
Well, I think the plot of this movie is going to be very written. The visuals are going to be visual. The acting is going to be acted. No, I'm kidding. But that's the thing too. I've heard. I try to avoid this, but I can't help it if it's a movie I'm excited for. I look at earlier reviews, and I've definitely like I've seen mixed things. I've
Yeah.
seen
Like
there's been 1 or 2 aspects where I've seen critics universally say one thing about the movie, and so it's like that element. There's probably truth to it, but it hasn't been like all bad, so that's good.
The only thing I've seen consensus, like people not like, is they said that some of the action scenes were very cut and like shortened compared to other Marvel movies, like where there was a lot of cuts and jumps during action scenes. But I get it again. Like you got to see it for yourself
Sure.
to really inform your opinion on it.
Because there's been movies where people have like, you know, spoken bad about it before it came out, and then I
Yeah.
saw it and I'm like, oh, it's not too bad.
Rotten Tomatoes, not Rotten Tomatoes. I think it was IGN gave like the Penguin show like a 5, and it was like
That's a 9.5.
that's
show,
like a
right?
10, 9, 10 show. It was a great show,
Yeah, they also gave She-Hulk a 9, FYI.
and that's like a -2.
Exactly.
Only good part about that was Daredevil.
Yes, which that's
That
coming
one
back in a
episode.
couple weeks.
I can't
too.
wait for that.
That's going to be exciting. I still have to. I got to rewatch.
I'm gonna tie something to sports really quick when you're done,
I was just going to say I got to rewatch
and we'll segue back to sports
the-
through that.
the Daredevil seasons again. And also, I was telling Pete, part of the new show was filmed in my hometown city hall, Yonkers City Hall. So that's kind
Yeah.
of cool. Anyway,
All right. Do you know the one Marvel character that's been predominantly known as a New York Mets fan for majority?
is it a major character?
Yeah. It's like one of the biggest Marvel characters, maybe the biggest.
Iron Man.
Spider-Man.
Spider-Man. Okay, yeah, because he's from Queens, right?
Yes,
Okay,
Spider-Man used
that
to
makes
always
sense.
be. Yeah,
Okay.
I don't know about any other Marvel character. But Spider-Man.
Yeah, I just picked Iron Man because he's like it's a big character. So that was the
Yeah,
first one that came to
you got
mind.
to remember though, in Marvel, Iron Man, like the Avengers were like B tier
Hmm.
for years. In the comic realm, the Avengers are like the B tier of Marvel. They weren't popular. It was more Spider-Man, and then you had like the Fantastic Four and the X-Men.
Sure. But then that's what's great about like the MCU, or
And
at
then
least
yeah, and
when
then
it's
the movies came out, and they made the Avengers S tier.
right. And that's what I was gonna say. Like that's what's great about the movies. They bring storylines to life that maybe aren't regarded as well. Like for instance, Guardians of the Galaxy. Like they when it came
They're
to
like
the
C tier
right
characters.
when
They
it came
weren't known.
right when it came to the comics, they weren't that popular, but they made a banging trilogy, and now everyone loves them. Everyone's always saying, "I am Groot." It's like
I am Groot.
I am indeed Groot. But
We are Groot.
and then of course my favorite, love you guys.
Mhm.
But yeah, so that's just an example of Marvel
Yeah.
doing good with
So
that.
going back now to the sports, because the whole, I like to sidetrack a little bit, but going back to, I just want to end it, talk about the Rangers a little bit because we never really talked about the Rangers.
Sure.
We talk about hockey, but we talk about the Rangers. I know you're a Ranger fan. They've had a season, and we'll just say it that way. They've had a season. They've had an up and down season. I mean, I think they could still push for the playoff after the break. When you look at the teams ahead of them, they have a tiebreaker over Ottawa and Detroit already. They swept Detroit and they beat Ottawa twice. So they have a tiebreaker over both of them. Montreal, they have a tiebreaker over.
Yeah,
I don't know. I'm trying to think who else might be ahead of them. I think Montreal, they have a tiebreaker over. If they beat Columbus, they have a tiebreaker, or they might be split with Columbus. I
yeah,
don't remember. Did we beat Columbus before the break?
yeah.
Because if we,
I was one of the people affected by the whole um, MSG thing, so I didn't get to watch Rangers and Knicks
yeah,
games as
that's
much
horrible.
this season, especially um, last year. I watched quite a bit when they made the playoffs, and it almost looked like, hey, we're gonna get a 30th anniversary redo, but we didn't. Um,
Mm.
and so I wasn't paying as close attention this year, but so a lot of the info I would get would either be from Pete or from the Rangers Instagram account. And I was remembering that in the end of the 2024 calendar year, like the first couple months of the season, there's barely any dub posts. But then when the calendar flipped to 2025, I'm not going to say it was like a massive reshift, but it has looked like in the last month they've
Yeah,
improved. So
they've
that's good.
definitely woken up after the Christmas break and after the New Year. The concern is that bad month and a half that they had could definitely screw them out of making a playoff spot. But they've been playing well enough where they're getting points in the state where they're getting standing points that they could definitely make up ground. As I mentioned, they have a tiebreaker over Montreal, taking 2 out of 3. They took 2 games already from Ottawa, and they swept Detroit. So if any one of those 3 teams are ahead of them and they finish tied, we have a tiebreaker over all of them.
Sure.
The kicker, the games that sucked to lose was the Pittsburgh game they lost last Friday. That was a game they had to win because Pittsburgh, I believe, was barely ahead of them. But you don't want to give Pittsburgh a point, 2 points when you need when they're ahead of you. You got to beat the Islanders. You beat the Devils once, so that was good. And then they can't beat Carolina, or Washington this year, which sucks.
Yeah. But yeah, we'll see how it goes.
Mhm.
I know my dad's a big Rangers fan, so shout out, Dad. And so he's probably very curious to see how that unfolds. You know, again, we have kind of like what you were saying about Mahomes earlier. We have the star power. We got Breadman. We got
Mhm.
we got Rempe. We can.
Did you just put Rumpy and Star Power in the same sentence? You can leave.
Okay.
No, he's
Good. Maybe not Breadman, but he's good. No.
he's just there. to
wish
put it
I wish
lightly.
he'd fight a little less, but
He's just there. He could be serviceable if he learns how to use his size. If he learns how to use his size and hit with his body, he could be serviceable.
yeah, he's like what, like
7 feet tall.
6'6"? Or he's
He's
7 feet?
6'9".
My good.
He's 6'9".
Yeah, that's definitely gotta do something with that.
Yeah. So if he could really, really learn how to like use that frame, he could be a really good fourth line grinding forward.
Yeah, or at the very least, go to MSG's other team. But yeah,
Go to the Knicks.
yeah.
Let's go Knicks.
Shout out to Brunson. And so,
Oh, crazy game last night.
Knicks game. Yeah, I didn't get to watch again. MSG, screw you, Optimum. But
Yeah, that was a crazy. They won by a point, but Brunson hit in the game winner.
see, like I said, shout out to Brunson. He's my boy.
Yeah. Anything you want to wrap up with? We're gonna wrap up in like the next minute or two. Anything you want to say for the end?
Just well, first of all, I want to thank Pete for having me on. I always enjoy being in his kind of natural environment because I know sports is very big to him.
Yeah.
So
I mean, you know, decent amount.
Yeah, I know enough
to come on.
But this is where he cooks, and I always think it's cool as an
you feed off of
right. And as someone who's you know, an English major, and I write every now and then, including for the Ionian, like Pete is now doing. It's easy, I think.
Trying to do. Hopefully, I get published.
You will. You and also I'm gonna most likely be on the e-board in the fall, so I could definitely help you out with that. But
just like I'm on the e-board here.
There you go. So my point being is that it's fun and easy to articulate your thoughts, whether verbally or in the written word, when it's a topic you're excited about, a topic you're passionate about. And so, so that's kind of what we're doing here, what Pete's doing here. And so I really think that's great. I encourage that. And so thank you for having me. And also, let's go Yankees.
No,
I'm sorry I had to do it. But yeah, that's my final word. Thank you, Pete.
Thank you for coming on.
My pleasure.
All right. Next week, maybe the same guest. Who knows? Gonna try to get Billy on again.
Ooh, yes. Beefergs, Butters.
If we could get Butters, Beefer, please.
Bust a bill.
Yeah, I really want him and Dom to come on.
I would love that.
Please.
I know Billy's been on here, right?
Billy's been on. Dom's never been on. Billy's been on once. You've been on almost like 4 or 5 times.
I've been on a few times, yeah.
Yeah, you're the recurring guest that doesn't want to leave.
I don't. It's fun.
I know, I'm joking with you. Yeah, I've gotten Billy. The only person I haven't gotten on is Dom.
That's what I was thinking, yeah, because I don't remember you mentioning like, hey, Dom got on. Because I feel like it would have been made like a big deal if
Dom, please get on. Yeah, we're good. Thanks for watching, guys.
That was good.